Okay, so if you're watching this part of the video, you've already selected your stories, you're good to go, everything's looking good. So, first thing we're gonna do, change our date. For some reason this isn't changing automatically. So how I did that was, click on it with the black arrow and then just double click inside of it. And if you, I think a triple click, but just click on it until you have this selected. And then we want to do February. Tomorrow is the 8th, 18. So make sure we have that correct. I'm just going to walk you through each of the individual pieces that I do in the order that I do them. And I've done this for, a couple of years. So this is the order that I do things in. If you have an order that you want to do things in, that's fine. This just helps keep me organized and gets everything done and updated that needs to be done and updated. So you see this extra guideline. I'm going to delete that off there. I don't want it there for now. So I have a 4-story front. I'm looking at my plan here. I'm going to lead with the fact that they won the game first. So that's going to be a 4-column story to start out. So I always start out with my headlines, because it gives you just a good anchor point that says, this is where I'm going to put my stories. So a couple of things with the first headline on the first page. These guidelines are here for a reason. They're here to help you. Do not go above the headline. You see how the blue line, if it's going above the blue line right here, we don't want to do that. That guideline is there for a reason. It gives us spacing, because look, you can see the difference between that. We have a nice little bit of white space there, and this, where it's all smashed in there together. We don't want that. Take advantage of the guidelines that you have. So, okay, so we have our first headline on there. That's good. Every story has a byline. So we're going to just drop our byline on there. Now the name in that byline is going to change. We don't have a guideline for the byline. Try and say that 3 times fast. So we don't have a guideline for the byline. So we see how this looks smashed on there. So what we do is we put it right up against it. We hold down the shift button and hit the down arrow. And that gives us the space we want. Only need to do it once, but it just separates it just that little bit. So every photo or every story is going to have a photo with it. So we're going to come over here, grab our photo box, bring it over here. Now, I have a feeling I'm going to want to make this photo big, because this is going to be my dominant piece of art on the page. So I'm going to want it to be at least 3 columns to start. And then every photo has a cut line. We talked about the importance of cut lines. They might not seem like the sexiest part of your page, but they're one of the most important. So do the same trick with get it up right against the bottom and hold down the shift button and hit down once. That gives you the spacing that you need. All right, so now I'm starting to look like I got a story package here. Now I've set mine up to look like an L. I'll go down here like this, and then we're going to come underneath the photo. So we draw, every story is going to have text boxes that it goes in. So I draw these before I put any image or any text on the page. Now notice I'm not using this. I'm using this. I'm using a blank box as opposed to one with the placeholder text in it. Placeholder text is only there to give you the formatting of the body copy. It's not to serve as all your text boxes. So you're just going to trip yourself up that way. So I'm going to draw a 1-column text box and then a 3-column text box underneath. I'm going to go back to my black arrow on that, and I'm going to come up here to where the columns are. 3. You can't see anything in there because there's no story in there yet, but we have a 1-column box and a 3-column box. And after that's drawn on there, so now I can see what's going on. Okay, that's what that story package is going to look like, and that's what the rest of my page is going to look like. What I think I'm actually going to do is I'm actually going to make this a little bit longer even. I think that's pretty good. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put another story on this page, and I'm also going to make that 4 columns. Ben, don't you want headlines different and stuff to look different? Yeah, of course I do. But right now I'm just building the skeleton of what I'm going to do. How do you get this spaced correctly? All right, well, I got my headline on here, and I know I want it to be this secondary headline size or secondary font because this is unbolded sans serif and this is bolded sans serif. If you don't know the terminology I'm using, you go back in the book and look at it from the first couple weeks of class. All right, so we have our top package created. Excellent. Looks good. Ready to roll on that almost. But we want to put another story package underneath it. So that sounds good. So right now we're going to draw, that shouldn't be there. Okay, so right now we're going to draw a new guideline down from the ruler at the top. You see where I would pull it from. You click right on the ruler itself. You get that double arrows and stuff. You pull it right down to the bottom of that story. It'll look dark blue like that. Hold down the shift button. Hit the down button twice. 1, 2. Okay. So see how we have a little bit of white space underneath it. Okay. Now we're going to pull another guideline. See where I'm pulling it off of this thing? And put it right on top of the first guideline we made. Snap right to it. Hold down the shift button. Hit down twice. 1, 2. And the reason why we do all that is because we want to create some white space in here for our next story we're going to put on, which is going to be also be 4 columns, but it's going to go right here. I'll pull this across like this. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go over here and grab the line tool. And then this is where it's a little difficult to explain here. You see where this purple and this blue cross right here at the edge of the page? We're going to click on that right there where it is. Hold down the shift button. Pull it across to here where the columns meet. Let go of our mouse hand. Then let go of the shift key. And see where we drew that line? It'll be easier to see when we get some text in this box and this box, but I think you get the general idea. Now we have some space in between these two stories. So moving on, I'm going to want some photo and some story boxes down here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the photo box with my black arrow. And you can do it one of 2 ways. You can either hold on the Alt button and drag, click and drag, which makes a copy. Or you can click on it and hit copy, which is Control-C, and then paste Control-V. All right, and then it comes, and we're just going to make it a little bit smaller so we work with it. All right, so we see it's not exactly the size we want it. We're going to want a 2-column photo here. Oops, just make sure you click on the right things like this. Draw that box. Now, how do I do that? There's these little boxes on here. You see how it has the little like 45-degree angle thing there? Not this, this, not this, this. And you pull the corner where you want it to go. Give it a little bit of space to breathe. Pull it down. Okay, so now we have a photo box there. We need our cut line. Don't forget the cut lines. So you go up to the cut line package. Control-C. Control-V, there's a bonus one. Pull that down, put it underneath, and then you see these little boxes over here. We're going to pull that just like that so it fits. And we're going to hit the W button just to see how it looks. Looks pretty good. We want to make sure that we're above that little blue line down there, though. Look at it again. I think we can work with that. So you see we're using this guideline to help us. Whole thing's lined up. All right, our text is going to go there. So, but what do we need? We need a byline. Go up, copy and paste it. Now we have a byline in there. Now we're going to need the text boxes. So in this case, in order to make the byline work easier, I draw 2 1-column text boxes. One column text box, one column text box. So now we have 2 text boxes here. All right. Now there's one thing I have forgotten on all this stuff because these stories are going to be too big to fit in these places. So I'm going to need jump lines. That's this guy right here. Okay. So we just copy and paste him or her, bring it over here. and put it in the spot where it's supposed to go, because this story is going to jump to the inside. Do the same thing over here. Copy and paste it and put it right in there. So now we have two story packages all set to go. I can drop text on them if I want. I'm going to hold off on that, though. It's going to be way easier to get all my boxes and everything drawn first and then start putting stories on here. That's the one thing I noticed last week, is everybody was very excited to put all their stuff on the page, which is good. We want to put our stuff on the page. We have to be patient enough to get all our stuff drawn first, and then when we put our stories on the page, it's going to be super easy to do that. So I have, like I said, we're going back to way at the beginning. We said we're going to do a 4-story front, and we have 2 stories set up. So we're obviously going to put our other 2 stories here. So we're going to put our other 2 stories in this column here on the right. Now we have to space things, though, like we talked about before. So we're going to have to draw ourselves a rule that's going to cut into this side of the page. And this is one thing that we kind of went over quickly last week. I just want to take an extra second to explain why. When you're designing a page, everything really should be ruled off or boxed off. Like it should have lines around it, so people can tell where stories start and stop, and it helps guide your eyeballs when you're reading. So in this case, we're going to cut into this bigger side of the page because it's harder for people to tell that you've cut into their story if you do it on the bigger side of the page. You have more real estate to give up on the left side of this page than in this one skinny column over here. So how do we do that? Okay. This is the part that we went over quickly last week, and we're just going to go over it again here. So we're going to use this line right here as our start point. That's where our rule is going to go. So we come over to the left ruler. See, we had the double arrows. We pull this guideline all the way over to that line. All right, see how it's dark blue right now? Hold down the shift button, hit the left directional arrow, 1, and then 1, 2, for a total of 12. I'll show you again. Or you can hit 12 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. The only reason why it's 12 is because that's the width of this column. I don't know why it's 12. It's just the way the defaults were designed, and the defaults work really well. So you see how we have 3 rule lines now, 1, 2, and 3. That's what we want. So now we line up all our big side stuff on this new blue line that we just made. Okay. So pulling our cut line over, pull this text box over. Don't forget that. Pull. Oh, let me get. There we go. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so it's easier to see. Don't forget the jump line. You got to pull that over too. Don't forget the rule that we drew before. This rule. Okay. Headline, photo box, cut line. Good. Okay, now I'm gonna. I zoom in and zoom out a lot because it's easier to navigate the page a little bit. So my apologies if you're not used to that. More, it's kind of like why we're just throwing you guys right into the mix here doing this program, because the more you work with it, the things you'll find that work for you. So I've gone over here and I've selected my line tool. And I'm going to right where these meet, right here, this purple and this blue. I'm going to draw a line. I'm going to click on hold my shift button down and click and drag all the way down to the bottom of the page. And you see where the other blue crosses right here. I let go of my mouse button. I let go of the shift button. And you can see it on there already. Well, just so you want to see it completely. See, now we've lined off the left side of the page versus the right side of the page. All right, everybody got that? Good. Okay, so now we're going to want to put 2 stories here. So first one we're probably going to want to do, I have it written on my thing here, which you can't see, but I probably want one in this top half of the page and one in this bottom half, so I can reach my 4-story quota that I got to meet. So I've obviously pulled my headlines here, but I'm going to want to do, I think, this type of headline in this column. So I'm going to click on it with my black arrow, copy and paste it. So I have an extra one. I'll put it right up in that column. And I'm going to draw it like this, which is going to make it disappear. But I know that text is there still because that little red line. So, okay, so it's gone away. So let's make it so it fits. So I click in there with either my text tool, or I just click in the box enough until I have everything selected. Hit Control A. Need to. Then I go up here to my point sizes, and I think we're going to put like 35 in there. I don't know if it's going to fit. I don't know what it's going to look like. We're going to put 35 in there just to give us somewhere to start. So that looks like it'll fit. So that's good. So we're going to just leave that there as headline 1 for now. We know it's going to be multiple decks, so we're going to leave some space because we know it's going to be multiple decks, but at least it's there, so we know it's there. So I'm going to draw my text box for this story, but I've forgotten something. Forgot my byline. Every story has a byline. So I go over here, and I left myself a little room. So copy and paste my byline, drop it on there. That looks pretty good. I mean, that's a pretty good amount of space. I did forget one other thing, my jump line, which I'm going to put on there now. I'm just going to line it up right with the bottom of the story. These kind of little details really matter. Like getting that lined up correctly matters. So you got to take it seriously. You don't have to, you don't have to be afraid of it, but you do have to take it seriously. I'm not looking at it again. I'm like, I can make that a little bit longer. So I'm actually going to make it a little tiny bit longer. So off of that, I did that all with my black arrow. Now I'm trying to click and grab my jump line here. You see that? I can't get it though. Every time I click on it, it gives me the text box. All right, my first rule is to not freak out. Can't freak out. I can't start clicking like a madman. I got to just take my time and figure out what's wrong. So what's happening is that this text box is actually on top of the jump line here, which is fine. That's just the way we have it layered right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold down the control button and I'm going to click on the jump line. You see how it did that and picked it for me? So I'll show you again. So I'm selected on the text box. I don't freak out. I hold down the control button and I click on it. It's just a trick you're just going to have to learn. It's one of those things you got to learn. So I'm going to move him down and get him in line. So there, that looks pretty good. So let's see how our page is looking. Page looks pretty good. We're going to change our point size on a lot of this stuff. We're going to move stuff around. We're probably going to make this photo bigger, but right now we have the bones in place to do what we need to do. So last thing we got to do is get our fourth story on here. So we pull our guideline all the way down to the bottom of this previous story. We're going to do it just like we did this one here. All right, so now we zoom in. So we have our guideline selected. So we go Shift, down arrow, down arrow. And we pull a new guideline, put it right on top of the other one. Shift, down arrow, down arrow. Okay, come over here, grab our line tool. Draw a little line across. Now you can do that, or actually, I'm going to take a look at it quick. We could do that. Well, let's leave it there for now, because I'm going to actually probably change some stuff up in a little bit, but let's leave it there for now. It's better to put it in and take it out than to not have it need to go back and do it later. So I'm going to grab my headline here, since this one works. I'm going to copy and paste it. And I'm going to line up on our new guideline here. See, we're lining up on this blue guideline. Need my byline. Line it up. Shift and a down button. Draw our text box. Oops, clicked wrong there. So I'll just draw our text box here. Leave a little bit of room for our jump line so we don't forget our jump line. Okay, I'm still underneath that one, so I have to hold Control to select it. And copy and paste it. And let's move it down to the bottom of the page here. Okay, so what we've done is we have taken all of our ideas and we've got them on the page now. Now we have the bones of our page created. It took us a little while to get there. We have 2 photos on here. Maybe we'll add some more stuff. Maybe we'll take some stuff off, but that's going to be probably it for this one, just to keep these videos relatively short and compact. And then we'll come back in the next video and we'll actually start putting stuff on the page, and we'll start building our page out here, maybe making some changes to it. So here's what it looks like right now. Looks like the beginnings of a newspaper page. I like it. So we'll go on to the next one. Be right back.